Since October 7th, really almost in the hours after October 7th of 2023, we saw this rise of anti-Semitism in the form of mobs with their faces covered, horrible signs, imagery that we haven't seen really since 1930s Germany or 1940s Europe. And it blew up all over the Western world. And here in the United States, we saw it in our major cities and across our college campuses. There was this feeling, certainly in our family, and I think in the broader Jewish community here in the United States and again across Europe, that we just really couldn't make sense of what we were seeing. And then Elise Stefanik and Virginia Foxx, who's the chairwoman of the House Education and Workforce Committee, held that special hearing in December 4th, December 5th of 2023, and where Congresswoman Stefanik famously asked the three college presidents, is calling for the genocide of Jews a violation of your university's code of conduct? And what should have been a very simple answer, of course it is. Those three college presidents, highly educated, but clearly lacking in moral clarity, couldn't answer the question because they've been living in and growing up in an academic world that couldn't clearly delineate good and evil and civilization and barbarism. They couldn't make that calculation. Two of whom, right after that hearing, or shortly thereafter, lost their jobs or resigned, and one still holds her position at MIT. But really, from that hearing, and then kind of going forward to today, here we live in Lower Merion Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. We're in a very blue township in a pretty blue Democrat county, in probably the area that will decide the election here in Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia suburbs. And when I talk to my neighbors about why they should vote Republican, the point I make with it's really indisputable fact is over the last 12 months, the House Republicans, with a very slim majority, the committee chairs there have decided that they're going to prioritize exposing, shining a light on the moral rot of anti-Semitism, and then starting the healing process, starting the repair process. And so the point I make to them is, if you care about this issue, if you are grateful that you had the opportunity to bear witness to the moral rot in higher education and now through K through 12, then you have the House Republicans to thank for it. And you should vote Republican on November 5th. And if I get pushback, which I almost always do, I say, well, look, here's the contrast. In the Senate, where the Democrats have the majority and therefore call the shots on what the committee hearings are, they've held zero hearings exclusively looking at anti-Semitism in education. Whereas in the House, Speaker Johnson and his team have taken a whole of House approach. 4 different committees, I believe, at this point have held hearings, and there have been 10 hearings. And then you add to it the work that President Trump did when he was president. The only reason today that students can bring lawsuits under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is because President Trump issued an executive order in 2019 making clear that anti-Semitism is a basis to bring a lawsuit under Title VI. And so we're seeing these lawsuits brought, which is the only way that these issues are going to be remedied. So we have President Trump to thank for that. I personally believe he was the most consequential and effective president in U.S. history for the U.S.-Israel relationship, and he did remarkable work on national security and foreign affairs and holding Iran accountable. But if we focus just on the moral rot of anti-Semitism, and specifically in education, it's because of President Trump's leadership that those lawsuits can be brought. It's because of House Republican leadership that these hearings have been held, and we're going to start to fix this mess. In the Democrat-led Senate, not one hearing, and I would add the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which passed with broad bipartisan support in the House, is completely stalled. DOA in the Senate, Senator Schumer will not let it get to a floor vote. Senator Casey, our senior senator, an 18-year incumbent here in Pennsylvania, is not using any of his seniority to push forward a bill that he is a co-sponsor of, at least nominally. And so the choice for voters here in Pennsylvania is very clear. And I guess I'll conclude with this. If you care about exposing and repairing the moral rot of anti-Semitism in education, expand the majority for the Republicans in the House by voting for our 3 Republican challengers who are trying to flip Democrat seats here in Pennsylvania. And vote for Dave McCormick for U.S. Senate, because we need to win that Senate seat and give the Republicans a majority in the U.S. Senate so that they can start to hold the hearings and hold these anti-Semites accountable. And then vote for President Trump and put him back in the White House to continue the policies that he and his administration so successfully instituted during his 4 years in the White House when he was there in his first term.
For more stories like these, be sure to subscribe to the New York Post right here on YouTube.